I know I don't want to see him. I know I don't want him around.
Mm-hmm. You scared of him?
Yeah, I'm scared of what else he might do. I mean, he could have killed me. I don't want him around.
Although battered women will often say they're leaving and then change their minds, with this incident, I felt some line had been crossed and Sarah would never go back.
This is hard, isn't it?
It is. I never thought I'd hear myself saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Guess I need a lawyer, huh?
Well, this is not the time to make permanent decisions. You're in a crisis state, so you've got to take your time, think things through the way we've been learning how to do.
Yeah.
You might want to find out at least what you can do and what your rights are and things. You ready for that?
I think I am.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know what to say to a lawyer I've never dealt with, and I don't know who to call. I don't know what to say. Do you know anybody? Do you?
Well, we do have a list of some lawyers. If you think you're really ready for it, I'd be more than willing to give you some names and you could choose from them.
Yeah, I would like that. What do I say when I call them?
Well, what do you want to say? What do you want to know from the lawyer?
I guess what I need to do to separate myself from him, to get a divorce.
You don't have to make a decision about a divorce right away, you know. Sounds like what you need right now is a way to keep yourself safe from Dan.
Yes.
And it sounds like you really want him out of the house, at least temporarily. But you need to know what your legal rights are. So maybe if you start off with a lawyer by saying that you've been hurt, that you want to separate right now, you don't know if you want it permanent or not, that might be.
Even though I think Sarah will not go back, I'm going to give her a lot of wiggle room. So if she does change her mind, she can remain in therapy comfortably.
I'll give you a couple of names. You know, when we talked last night from the hospital, you were saying that you didn't want the doctor to call the police. I assume that he didn't, and that you didn't change your mind about that?
No, I haven't. No, I don't want him to call the police. I just don't want them to be involved in this. I don't want people to know about it, and I don't want there to be such a fuss.
There's a fuss already, you know.
Well, but it would be a public fuss, and it would be documented, and it would. I don't want to hurt Dan. I don't want him to be thrown into jail, and I don't want the kids to have that either. I don't want their father to be in jail, so no, I don't want the police involved.
Well, you know, Sarah, you don't have to report it now if you don't want to, but you can change your mind at any point, and I've documented it as well, so it'll be in my records. So at least we have some of that information. And if you change your mind, we can do it. Okay?
Okay.
A therapist who works with abused women has to know the laws in his or her own jurisdiction. You should be prepared to help clients deal with situations involving police, judges, lawyers, doctors, and even custody evaluators. It's helpful to know in advance the specific individuals and resources in your own community to whom battered women can turn when they need help.
This is a step you have to really take, and you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's the best thing to do.
Remember, you make the decisions in this.
No, I know. And I know that this is not going to turn into my mother and father's situation. I'm different, and it's not going to happen. This case is different. I know that.
Yeah, you've been doing a lot of work with that, aren't you? Good for you.
Work seems to be going much better. They're giving me a lot more to do, and I've got work. It keeps me busy almost every single day, which is good, and I enjoy it.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot, and it seems to be working out better all the way around. Dan has been. He's actually even said he would like to go into marriage counseling. He seems very sincere about it. I mean, he would really like to try to work on things.
What do you think?
Well, I think that would probably be a good idea. I know that you haven't been so hip on that in the past, but I really think that that would be good for us. I want to try everything I can to make things work.
So you still think maybe, even though you filed for divorce, that maybe this relationship is still going to work out?
If he is willing to change and willing to want to work on it, which he seems that he is, then yes, I am willing to do that too. I mean, I miss not having him around. I mean, he wasn't always bad, and the times when he wasn't were really wonderful, and I miss that.
As expected, Sarah is receptive to reconciliation when Dan asks nicely. When women like Sarah begin to identify and pursue their own needs, it can disrupt the balance within the family system. In the absence of violence, family therapy would be perfectly appropriate to help them both adapt to these changes. But the use of violence is never an appropriate response to these stresses, and the source of the violence is not the family system, but Dan's own internal problems. Until Dan deals with these problems in special batterers treatment, marital counseling is not appropriate.
I do.
If he really wants to change, why won't he go into counseling for himself? Why not go into individual counseling so he can work on his problems?
I think he feels that because it's a marriage that we should be working together to try to make it work.
Batterers groups can be the most effective in getting the abuser to stop his violence. Unfortunately, Dan has refused on several occasions to attend such a group.
I know that I can't make him change. I can't make him change.
Good. We've been working on that, haven't we?
Yes, and I realize that, but he does seem very sincere when he talks to me about wanting to make our marriage work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important to me.
And it sounds to me like you're kind of wanting to try again, to try and make the marriage work, but only if Dan changes.
Well, yes, I mean, I don't...
You don't want it to go back the other way.
No, I don't want him... If he could learn not to hurt me when he gets angry, then I would want the marriage to still be intact.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I mean, I would still want to have us as a family unit, as, you know...
Of course, you want the good Dan, all the time.
Yes, I do.
But remember what we've been saying. We can't make Dan, you or I, can't make Dan change. Why do you think a marriage counselor could do it?
I don't know. I just think that it's possible.
Of course it's possible for Dan to change. But the best way for Dan to really demonstrate that he's serious about change would be to do something about it himself, wouldn't it?
I don't know. I'm going to have to think about this. I don't know. I don't think it's wrong for me to want to help if I can, but I know that I can't change him, if that makes sense.
Of course, it's not a question of right or wrong. It's a question of what's best for you and whether or not Dan is really making a good faith effort to change.
He really is sincere about this. He's tried very hard. I mean, he hasn't been abusive at all since he left the house a couple of months ago. These last couple of months have been fine.
Sarah, how many times has he called you in the last week? You just talked about it a few minutes ago.
He calls a lot. I mean, oh, you asked me to bring in this tape. I did bring it in.
Okay, let me go get the recorder.
Called probably about 10 times yesterday.
Sarah, pick up. I know you're there. Fine, just make sure you're listening. I'm going to be by to pick up the kids at 5 o'clock, and I want them ready, all right? I don't want excuses. I'm going to be there at 5. I'm going to honk the horn once. I want the kids ready to go. I'm going to be there at 5, not 5:01, not 5:02, not 5:03. Do you understand?
Listening to these tapes can be an effective technique to break through Sarah's denial and minimization. It's hard to reconcile Dan's angry comments with Sarah's earlier reports that he hasn't been abusive at all since he left the house. But it's typical for a battered woman to focus on the positive.
Sarah, pick up. Justin has no goddamn sneakers. How is he supposed to go to his goddamn gym class? Huh? What the hell is wrong with you? I'm talking to your mother. Alright, get those sneakers to him on Monday morning in school. I know that that's what you want anyway. Don't think that I don't see what's going on between you and his teacher. You slut.
Turn it off. I can't believe what he says to me. I don't even listen to these half the time. I just fast forward right through them. He has no right to talk to me like that. He has absolutely no right to be, especially when my kids are next to him, listening to him. Okay, so I forgot the gym shoes. That's not a big deal. He didn't even have gym class the next day. It's not that big of a deal, and yet he turns it into this huge thing as it's all my fault. Everything is always my fault. And if things are not exactly perfect, if I'm not there exactly at 5 o'clock, then he blows his stack. I mean, you're right, he has to change. He has to change. It has to be his decision that he is going to change and stop this kind of behavior. I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm not going to listen to that anymore.
How will you know that he's really going to change?
When he gets help. When he gets help.
Well, it's very helpful for me to listen to it, because sometimes you minimize, and you just want to make believe that the good Dan is the only person there. It's hard for you to really sit with the kinds of things that he does.
I have no choice but to see what he really is.
Dan can change, Sarah, but only if he takes responsibility and wants to change. It's the only way.
It is. It is the only way. And if he changes, then maybe we'll talk about what our future holds. The judge sent over this psychologist, this guy that comes over, and I know Dan probably had something to do with the fact that it's a man coming over to evaluate what kind of mother that I am. And he tries to portray himself as being this sensitive, really caring, gentleman kind of guy, and I know he doesn't believe a word that I say.
How do you know?
Oh, how he reacts, the look in his eye, the demeanor, just sort of the little reactions whenever I tell him. I know he doesn't believe anything that I say about Dan. Nothing.
Is he letting you talk about some of the abuse?
Oh, he tries, you know, he pretends that he's listening and that he's, you know, that he's concerned about all this, and that, you know, he kind of brings up every now and then so that I might trust him. But I know that he doesn't believe me. I know he doesn't at all understand what I'm saying.
No.
He's just trying to...
Wait a second. How do you know that he doesn't believe you? I mean, what are the signals he's giving you that say he doesn't trust you?
It's just his demeanor. It's just the look. Like I said,
Anger at men is very common when women are healing from abuse. It's important for the therapist to permit the woman to work through her anger at her own pace.
It's like the doctor when I went to the hospital. He kept asking me what I had done to Dan that might have provoked the situation. I mean, who was being treated there? I was the victim. I was the one that was hurt. I was the one that had a broken arm, and yet he was asking me what I had done to Dan. They all stick together.
All who?
All these men.
Ah, so you're angry with all men.
This can be an uncomfortable time for male therapists, who may try to rush the woman through this period before she's ready. The therapist can help her learn not to express this anger destructively, at the same time giving her confidence that she won't always feel this way.
To me, can't you just like be open and just sort of, but no, they're always like trying to come on, and they're always just trying to, you know, chat you up for one thing.
What's the one thing?
Oh, they want to get you in bed. I know that that's exactly what they're trying to do. That is it. They have no other interest in finding out who I am. They don't care what I think. They don't care what I have to say about any issues. I don't talk about issues. It's like, so what's your sign? And like, what did you do? Don't even get me started.
So you're not into the dating scene yet, huh?
No, I don't. I'm fine with my friends right now. I'm not at all interested in... I just haven't met anybody who's piqued my interest.
You think they're all like Dan?
Oh, I don't know if they're all like Dan. You know what the worst thing about this whole thing is?
What?
Is that there's not one mention in the decision that Dan ever hurt me. Not one word. It's like it never even happened as far as they're concerned.
Really?
No, not one thing. And I'd also have to give the kids over to Dan if I was ever going to leave here, which I'm not going to do.
It doesn't feel like much justice got done.
No, I feel like I was it totally failed me.
They did fail you. They did fail you, Sarah.
Oh, that's what I feel. It hurts. It doesn't...
So for you to follow what this court has ordered, this joint custody decision, that means you have to stay here for a while.
Exactly. And I don't want to be here. This is such a small town. Everybody knows what's been happening. Dan has all these connections everywhere. I don't want to be around where he is. I just really like to leave and make a new start somewhere. And, you know, career-wise, it would be much better for me to be somewhere else. And there's just not that much here to offer me anymore.
Unfortunately, battered women must frequently share custody with the abuser if he has not directly hurt the children. This is often a painful reality for both client and therapist. It's clear that Sarah will have to put aside some of her own personal goals if she wants to remain with her children. Although she's justifiably angry now, I'll help her find ways that she can still continue to grow.
So let's take a look at what your options are. If you stay, then you have to have certain options, and we'll look at them in a minute. If you leave, you have to give up the kids to leave.
Right, no, I don't want to do that, so
So
we're
that's-
going to appeal the decision. My
Okay.
attorney and I have,
So that's one of your options, is to stay and appeal the decision.
right.
What could you do if you had to stay here? What are your options?
I don't know,
I mean, you've been making such great progress. You've been growing. You've been really finding yourself. What are you going to do to kind of not lose yourself again?
I've got work to do, and most, you know, it's good work. It's just not as far as I can go. You know, there's so much more in this field, and other things that I would like to explore and do. And
Like what?
well, I just like to learn more about what that's out there in computers, but I'd also like to just try some other thing, you know, find out more about what other skills that I have that might be useful to me.
So how would you go about doing that?
Well, do some research on it, talk to people, but I'll maybe take some classes here and there.
This is a university. Think big.
And, you know what I think would be really nice? It's to maybe go into and do a couple of business classes. It might help sort of broaden my abilities.
Think you could get a degree?
I don't know, about a degree. I mean, that would take so much time. I'd have to raise 2 children. I've got to work. I mean,
But is
I
it
don't
something
be
you
able to
might
go.
like?
Yeah, I really would. I would like to get a degree. I think I could get a degree. I don't know if I've got any time right now. I mean, it seems like it's worse than it ever was.
Well, it seems to me that one of the things that we can work on is really trying to help you figure out what the best use of the limited amount of time that you really have would be for you.
Yeah, I feel pulled in so many different directions. You know, I want to give, you know, to my kids and to work and to myself, and I just don't ever feel like I have enough time to do all that.
Well, balance is the hardest thing to get to.
So how do I do that? I mean, how do I get there?
Well, that's something we're going to have to work on together. You're going to have to really figure out what your priorities are and how to really enforce that.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah.
Once Sarah felt more safe, we could reinforce her sense of inner strength. That allowed her to overcome her denial at her own pace and to make decisions in her own way. While Sarah ultimately chose to leave her husband, I want to emphasize that the goal of survivor therapy is not to end the relationship. Rather, the goal is to help the woman become more safe, whether or not the relationship continues. Sarah terminated therapy several months after this session. We left open the possibility of her coming back, either for a checkup or for further therapy. In survivor therapy, the door is left open for the abused woman. She may want to return if she faces specific developmental landmark, a crisis, a life cycle issue, or maybe new childhood memories that break through into awareness. About 8 months later, in fact, Sarah formed a serious relationship. As they became more intimate, she began to experience childhood memories of sexual abuse by her uncle. She returned to therapy, and we spent the following year examining and helping her heal from the trauma of incest, using many of the same techniques you have seen in this video.